Hello everyone, I'm back with another video, and this is the first of 4 videos I'm going to do on setting up character decks for multiplayer. And I'm starting out with the support character, or the healer. I'm going to show you a few options. I'm going to go through deck choices, and we'll look at some specific cards. We'll look at custom skill setup, weapon selection, casting order, and ultimate. So that's our objectives here. And so let's go into our multiplayer deck screen here. I've not played this character in quite a while. This is the first unique job card that I got with this character, and this particular so anyway, this was the first real multiplayer player I used. And some people dislike the dancer healer. I think it's perfectly fine. Actually, I think it can be very good, but there are some very specific things about using this healer. And this is something that whenever you get a job, you really have to look at the details to make sure that you are using the right configuration of stuff. So this is a typical setup that you see here. So here's the supercharger, and in terms of cast order, the first thing that the healer should always cast in multiplayer is haste. And my haste card for this deck is right here. This was a limited time card that I was lucky enough to get. Or actually, I think this was just a login card, which was quite nice. So was the supercharger. Both of these, I think, were just login cards a while back. You can't get them now, unfortunately, but this one's kind of nice. It gives you haste and barrier, so it gives you some defense as well as haste. And this is the first thing you should cast. The other option for haste, since you probably can't get this card if you're a new player, is just the Hermes card. You'll need that one or some other card. I wish I'd gotten the Garuda card, which was a limited time card from a few weeks ago. I didn't have the ability or the summoning tickets to try for that. So that also, would be really good, because that card actually kind of replaces both of these because it gives actions and haste. But anyway, so I have both of these cards in this particular deck. Now, you almost always want, if you're doing a 3 or 4 star fight, a wall card of some kind. And this is another limited time card that you got through multiplayer, the Tyro FFRK. I have other options that have wall in my card deck, which I can show you in a minute. The only reason why I have this one here is because for harder fights, this one gives you the added defense against the Sicarus type enemies. And so this one is kind of good for multiplayer if you're worried about staying alive, which with this guy probably is a little bit of an issue because I haven't done that much to develop the character further. And then if you watch my other videos, I'm a big fan of this Knights of the Round card. I think it's a must-have. So basically then what you see is I have cards for my healer that do 3 things. They all heal, but they all also do something else. They add actions, they add haste and defense. I have wall, and then of course the boon KTOR that will increase the damage for my other group members. Now, other cards that I have that are completely feasible to use, I do have the Hell's Gate card. It takes tickets to level it up, and I've not spent the tickets on it yet. But here you get some healing with regen as well as barrier and wall. So this is a replacement card for the FFRK card. It would probably be either one or the other of these, unless you're doing some fight where you need multiple wall casts. That's not really too often. I don't really like to use the Cleaving Attack Echo card. This was also another limited access card. The reason why I don't like this is because with my healer, everybody gets the buffs that I cast, and this buff really only helps one character, which is the Breaker. And so I think if somebody wants to use this, the Breaker should be using it, because really, you know, your physical attacks don't really do much of anything for any other character but the Breaker. So I'm not a fan of actually carrying that on the healer. This is also a limited card that was a healing card that is, I think, perfectly acceptable to carry for some fights, especially for something like Ultima, because you take so much damage. This card heals a ton. It basically puts everybody to full. And also, it dispels ailments. So this is going to remove the for the ultimate weapon. It's going to remove that ticking bomb, time bomb thing, laser thing that ultimate weapon puts on you. So it's good to have some cards like that. There's other really great cards you'll see out there that healers have, like Aerith, because I don't have any Supreme cards, so I don't have that. And there's a Luna card, which was out before I started playing the game. And so that's also a great card. So those are some of your card options. The other thing to pay attention with your card options is you have to work on getting good fractals, and that one does not have good fractals on it. Nor does that one. Not for a healer anyway. So you have to, because it takes time to get the ones that you want. Hit points, you know, it's okay. Prismatic draw, you know, it's okay. What do I have on this? Hit points up. The job recast is so worthless, but I can't replace that. That's another downside to that card. And this is where you see that I've not developed my cards enough, how this has gone awry, because I basically tried to put fractals on these cards for this healer, but I did so at a time when I didn't have enough fractals to keep replacing until I got the right thing. This is closer to what you want. You know, Life Draw Plus is great, because the quicker you get the life orbs, of course, the more effective you're going to be. That's the biggest challenge with a supporting character, is making sure you're getting enough orbs to keep all of your buffs active. So that is the cards. The other thing to look at is your custom skills setup. I've never really gotten a super good answer on this, but it's my understanding that magic will increase the effectiveness of your heals. Once you have your cards leveled up and your abilities on those cards leveled up, I don't think the healing amount is really a problem. I think it's perfectly fine, but early on that was an issue, a concern for me. You see I have some light resists here only because when I was playing this card, I was trying to do the 4-star Ultima fight, and so I had them, so I threw them there. So this really needs to get updated, and I really need to rethink what really belongs on the custom skills for the healer. Magic percentage up is probably what I would go for, with the understanding that that should increase the effectiveness of these abilities. Weapon selection is something you really have to think carefully about, because it's something that you want to complement the character. And I just recently got this Dominion Axe X, and I think this is the right weapon for me to use with this healer. The reason why is because the ultimate for the Dancer, if you don't have it, is really good at breaking the enemy, but at the same time what it does is it fills up your orbs like most ultimate attacks do, but then it also turns all of your orbs to prismatic orbs, so essentially turning them all to heart orbs for you. And that is the issue with the Dancer sometimes, is trying to get, if you're using some other weapon, you know, like one of these early ones, right? This weapon should never have been augmented, but I didn't have anything at the time, and so I thought this was the best one with this Life Draw Plus on it. Now the Ultimate Charger is good, because sometimes early on with this Dancer, because it can be hard to get the orbs at the rate that you want sometimes, because the Ultimate turns all of your orbs into prismatic orbs, you basically end up trying to survive on your orbs from one ultimate to the next, is essentially how this character functions early on. But that's where this comes in, because this has, okay, hit points are always good for multiplayer, gives extra elements for your attacks, so that is good because you're driving a lot to get more hearts. But more importantly, it has this prismatic draw plus 16%, which increases the chance that when you draw orbs, you're going to get them back as prismatic orbs. That is really good because that helps compensate for the lack or the difficulty of sometimes getting the heart orbs. So I haven't tried it yet. Maybe I'll try playing this soon once I up this weapon a bit more, but I think this will work out really good. You just have to make sure that for each round you don't draw more than one color of orb, because if you do, then you can end up accidentally drawing the prismatic orbs, because your first draw could turn to prismatic, then your second draw is going to erase them. So you don't want to do that. So you just have to look at the weapons, pick the ones that has abilities to fit your healer, and that's really important. Some of these others, like this one, not good for a healer. Okay, this is more for attacker. This is a defense attuned chain, extended break, which isn't even good for multiplayer. Auto charge ultimate's the only one that's really nice here, but the others are useless really for multiplayer, or at least lack effectiveness. So that's basic character setup for choosing the things that you, the cards that you want, and your weapon, all very important. The last thing that I want to point out is the cast order for your healer. You must cast haste first. This is mandatory. And people who don't run a haste as a healer are just doomed for defeat. And the reason is because the haste isn't just for you, it's for all of your group members to create orbs. Okay, if they have more attacks, they're going to do more damage, they're going to break the enemy quicker, which means the enemy is going to attack you less and do less damage. It means you're going to generate orbs quicker for yourself to get more heart orbs. So haste is absolutely must early on. Even if you take a lot of damage the first round, haste must get cast, because you're not going to recover without it. The second thing you should cast is the attack buff, unless you've taken a lot of damage. Okay, if you've taken a ton of damage, maybe you don't have a good defender who isn't driving the defensive orbs or something like that, then, you know, to stay alive, right, maybe you have to cast wall early. But ideally you'll cast the attack buff second. And then thirdly in your rotation would be your defense and or your wall. Now the wall, if you've played the game at all, you know that the enemies, most of the enemies do their most powerful attack after you have broken them, and they come back and their gauge fills back up, their break gauge fills back up. Their following attack on the next turn is usually their most dangerous. And that's when you want to cast wall. You want to cast your wall or your defensive abilities right before that big attack comes. If you do that, healing, pretty much any multiplayer battle should go really, really smooth. Okay, so that is basic tips for playing the healer class for multiplayer, and the kinds of strategies you should be looking at to be most effective and to win some battles rather than lose. That's it for now. Peace out until the next video.